What's up, everyone? Coach Tony here. In this training, we're going to break down the various types of college applications. There's a few of them out there. We're going to break down each one, what each one means, the pros and cons of each one, and which ones your child should be working on. If it's our first time meeting, my name is Coach Tony. I've been helping families with the college admissions process for over 16 years, starting as a former UC Berkeley admissions reader, end up as a UCLA director, opened my own high school, and then I served as TikTok's first college admissions partner as well too. So over the last 16 years, I've been helping families get into pretty much all the different schools you can think of, state schools, private schools, Ivy Leagues, all above. So there's different types of applications that you're going to be using to apply to these schools. This is something you'll be doing senior year. So 9th, 10th, 11th grade, you're working a lot on your academics, your activities to get that kind of portfolio ready, that resume ready. And when you're a senior, this is where you package it all and send it off to the colleges to evaluate. Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen and we can definitely get started here. All right, really quick, just to make sure I am good. For those who are here live, we are going live on Zoom right now. Those let me know if you can see the screen. If the screen is seeable, let me know just so I can make sure I'm not. I've had a call where I did not go live, and it was sad. It was very, very sad. All righty. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It looks like we are good to go. Let's go ahead and get started, right? So before we actually dive into the actual training, these trainings, we go live. We teach you guys some awesome stuff. If it's our very first time meeting or one of our first few times meeting, if you're interested in doing a free, just 15-minute coaching call, our goal as a company is to make college admission accessible to all. So if you guys, we just want to make sure you're on the right track. It's not a sales call. You actually cannot buy anything on this call with our team. So we do things a little differently. See if we can help you guys out, point you guys in the right direction first, and kind of if you guys want to do it yourself, go for it as well. We'll give you kind of tips and tools to do so. If you guys are interested in working together, you let our team know. They'll set up a second call to talk to you guys. Not the same call itself, but if you guys are interested, I'll go ahead and share the link at the end of the call. And also, if you want to text us, you probably found us. For those who are joining live via text, you can text our team, Coach 949-298-6234, or access the notes for the call I have here, 949-298-6234. Okay, let's go ahead and dive straight in. So there's four different main types of applications out there. There's going to be early action schools, EA. There's going to be early decision schools, ED. There's certain schools called REA, restrictive early action, and there's RD, which is regular decision. So let's go ahead and break it down. So the first one is called early action. So what makes early action unique is that early action, you apply early and you find out early. So typically the deadlines are going to be in October, right? So you'll be up like spending your first batch of schools October. Some of them are going to be early November as well too, early November. But a lot of it's going to be in October. You will find out in December. So for those of you guys, I'm recording this live in the month of December. So students who actually applied in early action this past 2 months, they will be finding out results this month as well too. So it's very, very exciting month for our students. Okay, so the thing about early action, right? So that's pretty much the gist of it. You apply early, find out early. That's the big thing. What's the advantage of early action, right? Actually, I like one more thing. One more thing there is that early action is non-binding. That's probably the big one, right? So what non-binding means is that let's say you apply to the school and you get accepted. It doesn't mean you're locked into that school. There are different little spoilers for next one, right? That will lock you in if you get a yes, right? But for early action schools, right? You apply early, find out early. You still have time to consider a lot of other options. That's the big takeaway of early action itself. Okay. Now, What's the advantage of doing early action? So the first big advantage is that you get to demonstrate your interest in the school, right? So again, these people are applying, again, typically 2 to 4 months earlier than the actual deadlines of the schools themselves. So again, if put yourself in the position of a college. If you were a college, right, and someone applied to you 2 to 4 months before the actual deadline, what does that tell you about the student, right? Sure, it probably tells you they really, really want to go here. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. So you're demonstrating interest in the school itself. Okay. The other thing as well is you just find out earlier, right? So then you have more things to play with, more decisions to factor in, right? For some of our students, they find out and they're done, right? A lot of our students who do early action schools, right? They find out, they're like, all right, I'm probably gonna go here. We'll see where the rest of the apps are, but they're pretty much like, again, they get to relax now. No more stressful, again, because if not, you have to wait till like April to find out the rest of your schools, in March, April to find out the rest of your schools, versus now, you find out early, you get to kick back and relax as well too. Okay, so that's that. So what's the disadvantage of applying early? The first one is easy. You need to be ready earlier, right? It's kind of the big one. A lot of students, again, they don't do early action because they just weren't ready with their essays, weren't ready with their responses, weren't ready with the recs, right? Because again, it is typically a lot early. A lot of students don't think about college essays, college apps in the summertime, so they kind of, oh no, senior year, I gotta start working on it. And by the time school starts, you have like a month, right, until it's due. So some students just miss that deadline. So that's the one disadvantage. Like it is due really, really early here. Another one is the competitive pool, right? Keep in mind who are the type of students who will be applying early. It's the more competitive students. The more competitive students are the ones that are going to be the ones applying early to this. So I think that's the one thing to keep in mind as well versus the regulars, like everyone, right? People who are applying early, there's a certain look and feel to them, right? So it is going to be a more competitive class here. Another small disadvantage of here is that there's less academic data. What I mean by that is that they probably won't see senior year grades, right? Or fall semester grades. You may, if you're taking the SAT and you're taking it for December, for example, which usually some schools allow, they won't see that score as well too. So again, unless you're front loading a lot of stuff, they won't see a lot of the senior year, less senior year, upcoming 12th grade data as well too, right? But as a general rule of thumb, one of the things we tell our students, if you can do early action, I would, right? If you can, if you're ready in time, definitely go for early action and stuff. So that's one type of application, right? A lot of the private schools offer this. A lot of the Ivies offer this as well too. A lot of state schools don't, right? Something you don't know. A lot of state schools, like for example, if you're from California, the University of California system, they don't do early action at all, right? So they do regular. So keep that in mind. This is a lot for the private schools and the top, more a lot of the elite schools. They do this early action application. Okay. The second one is called early decision. You can see they're pretty similar, right? They're pretty similar in how they're sharing what they're doing, right? But there is a little different. The biggest difference, I kind of teased this earlier, early decision is binding. What does binding means? This means if they say yes to you, you are legally obligated, legally committing to this school. So let's say you do early decision to this XYZ university, and XY university says yes to you in December. This is also like you apply early and find out early. Same thing. You apply in around October, early November, you find out in December, right? Then if you get in, you're locked in, right? You sign an agreement, you're locked into that school, right? That's probably the biggest piece of between EA and ED. Something else to add on to that so you guys it makes sense. When it comes to ED schools, because it's legally binding, right? You only commit to one ED school, right? You only commit to one and that's it. Same thing, not same thing. Opposite happens for EA. For EA schools, right? Because it's non-binding, you can apply to as many EAs as you want, right? That's the thing there. Okay, so EA, apply as much as you want. ED though, you only commit to one, right? Because you're legally saying I'm going to your school. Same thing. Everything else pretty much applies to our decision. So let's talk about what does that mean, right? So when it comes to advantages, there is a higher acceptance than activity than the EA, I mean, right? Because EAs, a lot of people are applying. ED, you're only committing to one, right? It's like for those of you guys, marriage, right? There's only one person, right, that you're committing to as a life. That's pretty serious, right? So that's kind of the concept of it. So between EA, ED has a higher acceptance rate just because again, you're committing to that. You're saying this is my one school. If I don't get in, I didn't get in. Is kind of the big thing as well. Okay, so that's the big one here. Again, so this is definitely super demonstrate interest in the school. And then again, same thing, same logic as the early action school. You find out earlier, and then you're relieved earlier. So if you once you and especially with ED, once you're in, you're done. You're like, all right, kick your feet up. I am done. Time like I get to enjoy the rest of my senior year because you're good to go, right? Now, what are the disadvantages? This one has a few more than the early action itself. So this one is binding, right? So it's a perk and also a thing because again, because it's binding, that's you're committing. You are going there no matter what. As a result of that, right? You're kind of stuck with whatever financial aid package they give you because you don't again the perk of doing early action, doing regular, you'll be able to negotiate financial aid with other schools. Early decision, you're committing and you're locking yourself in, you get whatever the school offers you is the other piece of the puzzle as well, right? So that's kind of I think one of the bigger pieces of it. And again, this strategy, again, you only commit to one college, right? Here compared to like the EA, where you have a lot of schools you can pick from there. So that is the early decision. Again, you hear us a lot, EA, ED. A lot of our students do this, right? There is one kind of subcategory, just to kind of point out there. It's called a restrictive early action, right? Just kind of feel the thought, complete the thought, right? We recommend students do early action the most they can. Early decision is if you know, no, if this has been your dream school since you were a kid, right? Go for it. Make that your ED because that's your one Hail Mary kind of play as well. Okay. When it comes to restrictive early action, so what is this? Right. So this is a special type of it's like a hybrid, right? Not every school does this, but certain schools that do, it feels like a hybrid format. So first one is this is non-binding as well too. So if you get in, then you can say, awesome, good to know. Let me weigh out my options as well, right? The difference, however, you are restricted from applying to other early action programs. So restrictive early action means I'm committing to you, right? So you can see this is like a hybrid of the EAED, but it's like one a very popular one, I believe, Stanford. Stanford is one of the schools that does something like this, right? Where like they're like, hey, you can apply, you have to commit to us, right? You have to commit to us later, but you can only apply to one, right? So that's the big difference of this right here. And there, same thing, apply early and find out earlier, right? Same thing, logic apply in October, November, early November. The decision will be in December. So again, the three of these so far have very similar, and you can kind of assume the advantages of this, excuse me, is very similar as well too, right? So this one is the strong commitment, right? Without strong interest without commitment, interest without commitment. So you can kind of technically back out if you want to, right? As well too, you find out earlier. And probably the big one here, you're able to because you're able to not commit, you can compare financial aid packages, right? As well, again, because at the end of the day, getting into college is one piece of the puzzle. The other piece is paying for college as well too, right? Again, they're technically different entities, right? But they do relate to each other in the greater scheme of everything, right? So when it comes to disadvantage, why don't you want to do it? It limits your EA opportunities, right? Because again, the purpose of EA is you apply to a lot of schools and see which ones you get in faster, right? The other thing, I'll go back a little bit as well too. One of the other perks of early action is that when you do early action, some schools might defer you the opportunity to defer, right? Meaning they say, hey, with your app, I think you're good, but you didn't make this round of the early action. Let me go ahead and push you to the regular pool, right? Which is the second pool, right? So keeping that in mind as well too. So there is an opportunity for do this regular. There's no other thing to push to. So early action, one of the perks where you have to apply early, you get to push you over to the regular pool if they deem that the way as well too. Right? That's why we see how students apply to REA as much as you want, right? So limit your EA opportunities number here. And again, very competitive, very competitive as well too, because it feels like pretty much ED without the commitment. It's ED without the commitment is the best way of thinking about it. Okay, so that is the restrictive early actions. So those are all the early actions. Again, a lot of private schools do this. A lot of elite Ivies they do this as well too. Let's talk about regular. Regular is pretty much if it's not early, it's probably regular. There is one more category that I didn't talk about today that you guys can be aware of. It's called rolling decisions, right? So what rolling decision? Actually, I might as well just talk about it as well for us to hear, right? What rolling decision is oops, rolling decisions. They will keep admitting until they are full, right? So rolling decisions as well too. So they'll keep admitting families until they're at the full capacity. So you'll see they have different deadlines like, hey, our apps open up this day. And again, you'll also find out earlier, right? Because then the sooner you do it, the sooner they'll try to get you in too. So you'll find out sooner rather than later, right? But the thing, oops, right? But right, you find sooner rather than later. But it's like an ongoing basis as well too. Okay, so that's that. Going back to regular, so a lot of students will be applying with regular decisions. A lot of state schools do regular, like for example, the UC system, right? They use regular decisions. So majority of schools will be doing regular decisions here. This regular decision is a non-binding agreement. You can saying only RED is binding. Everything else is non-binding, meaning if you get in, you don't legally have to go there. You can pick any other schools you want to go to, right? These have later applications, right? So again, the application that the deadline is a lot later. For example, if you look at the UCs are on November 30th, right? As well too, a lot of the Ivies are in January as well too. Some other state and out of state schools are gonna be in February. So there's much later deadlines, so you don't have to stress out so much if you're applying to here. Okay, so that's the one thing here, and then your decision is gonna be in by April 1st. Right, so that is I guess you can also post as a disadvantage. I'll put it on the disadvantage as well too, right? So this one is a waiting game. So this one for you see the stories of people waiting, opening up the letters later on. That's pretty much what regular decision is. You don't know. Every school has their own cadence of letting you know results of everything. A lot of schools they'll let you know for sure by April. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, by April 1st. By April 1st, you'll know every school yes or no, right? So that's the date where you'll know that. I did some different training early this week about the senior year cycle, but basically April 1st to April 30th is going to be yield. So the schools are not going to try to fight for your yes, and then you commit by May 1st, right? So by the April 1st, every school will let you know. So some schools, again, the Ivies are notorious for this. They like to wait all the way to the very end. By April 1st, they'll let you know that day as well too. Okay, so that's that. And then that's that. And then so the advantage of regular, right? You have more time, right? Unlike the earlies where you don't have a lot of time, it's like school starts due in a month. School starts, you have a good semester. Right, you have a good semester to do stuff. As a result of that, you're able to incorporate 7 semester plus test scores, right? In fall, winter, right? Meaning a lot of them will ask for your senior year first semester grades. So seniors, if you're watching this, still do really well your first semester because they will ask for it, right? And if you're taking a later SAT, like some of our students are taking the SAT this weekend, and in that case, I do really well, right? And you're able to submit those scores too, where you couldn't have submitted for the other ones, for the early ones as well too. So that's part of the advantages here. And then same thing, you can apply to multiple schools, apply to multiple schools this way here. Okay. The disadvantage again, you have to wait all the way to the year. There's less spots because EAED. So they fill up the pool first with the EAED students, and wherever spots are left, that's the rest of regular, right? So keeping that in mind is kind of how the thing works, right? And because of that, you have less time to decide, right? It's pretty much it as well too, right? Less time to decide because again, you find out by April 1st, you have to decide by May 1st. By May 1st. Okay, that's the thing there. Okay, so these are basically the four big application cycles you can do: early action, early decision, early restrictive early action, and regular. So let's talk about the compare. Oh, and rolling as well too, right? Let's talk about the comparisons, right? Which ones? How do we compare each of these schools? Which one should I be doing? For my child is a big one. Okay, so first one, EA versus ED. Again, typically, general rule of thumb, we do recommend our students do early if they can. So we do recommend early if you can, right? Just because again, you get first dibs at spots, right? You get first dibs at spots, and also the opportunity to be deferred, right? Be deferred, meaning if you couldn't make the first cut, but you were still strong, that like, yeah, we think you're gonna be fine, they'll push you over to regular. So you get basically two chances at this process, right? Early and regular as well. Okay, so that's one of the big ones here. Between early action or essentially both, they can both apply early and find out by before New Year's usually as well too, right? And then the thing is EA non-binding, ED binding. That's kind of the biggest difference of all. This one and apply to multiple schools apply to only one. So again, ED, again, like I mentioned, this is your dream school. This is that one school you've been sleeping and dreaming about your entire life. This is the one school if you got in, no other school matters. That's ED. Go ED to that school. Every other school you can EA to. Okay. When it comes to REA versus EA, right? It depends on are any of your schools REA because a lot aren't actually when you actually look into it. Only a few schools are, like Stanford's a big one that comes to mind, but not many schools are. So that's where you have to pick and choose and figure out, is this school worth it compared to all the other ones? To like not apply to any other schools and only commit to them. Not commit to only apply to them in this early season. That's the big thing to think about as well. And keep in mind again, REA is going to be a very strong interest, right? Demonstrated because again, same thing with ED. You're saying I'm committing to you. I didn't apply to anyone else, anywhere else. I applied just to you. So that's gonna be the big one between the two here, right? Again, this one is early versus regular. This one again, regular usually you have more time, right? More time. And some schools don't have early. Again, like I use the example of the UCs. UCs don't have regular. You apply early, cool. You apply late, cool. It's all the same. There's no different cycles for that as well, right? Probably the biggest one I would say that affects a lot of people here is going to be financial aid, right? So when it comes to financial aid itself, keep in mind the one you have to be careful about is ED, right? You have no choice, right? Have no choice really, right? ED is you're committing to a school, you're locking in for better, for worse, right? Just like a marriage, right? For better, for worse, you're locked into that school. You're committing to whatever terms they give you for there. Versus, right? EA, REA, RD, even rolling, right? You can compare packages, right? You can compare packages, pit them against each other as well too, right? So I think that could be the biggest difference between the two here. Little spoil, no, little caveat, little asterisk as well too. I'm gonna put a little star here because again, everything I mentioned to you is factually correct. That being said, right? You guys know Coach David's one of our head strategists. He's a lawyer himself, right? So he's trained reading all the fine print for us with everything. Technically, right? Technically, if you ED to a school, and again, the finances are just way over the budget of anything, right? If you let them know if it's truly the money, right? There is a loophole out. There is a loophole out, right? Imagine the press if a school forces forces a family to pay when the family knows they can't financially afford it. Holy moly, right? Again, we don't recommend that just because like there's bad juju and you kind of cheat the system a little bit. But technically, legally also, you are signed agreement, but again, they're not going to force you to go if your family really cannot financially afford it to do the package that they do. That being said, though, again, college financial aid, that's a different topic, different day. Coach David's does trainings on financial aid related topics. So if you guys want that, let me know. I can send you some of those. But usually they help you with your package, right? They don't know your income, don't know kind of your family situation. They'll adjust based on that as well. Okay. That is pretty much it. So again, overall high level recommendations. We do recommend doing early if you can to all as many schools as you can. The one school, by the way, just a heads up, this is a our company, our program recommendation. We do not recommend doing early for Stanford. That is the one thing that we do. We don't recommend students do. Our students don't apply early to Stanford. They apply regular. We have our reasons. Historically, our students who apply regular do very good. So we like to recommend that for that school only in particular. Every other school, though, yeah, if you have the early option available and you can do it, go for it. I would say do it, but just like because this is a us thing, right? Again, everyone has their own 2 cents and stuff. Just how we like to recommend our students as our system, our proven structures. We tell our students who are applying to Stanford, just do regular for Stanford. Don't do early action or REA for that there. Okay. That being said, that's pretty much it for this session. So if you guys are interested in these notes that I had, you can go ahead and text the word notes to 949-298-6234. If you're interested in booking that free 15-minute call to chat with our team to kind of see where your family's at and give you some recommendations, you can, again, 949-298-6234, but write the word coach and our team can help you out with that. Okay. Let's see. We have questions here in the chat. Question here is if you get deferred to the regular pool, can you add application, do more stuff, some more grades, test scores? It depends on the schools, right? So this is a school by school decision. Some people just automatically they'll let you know they deferred you and your app is as is over. Some schools may. But most of the time, though, to my advice, the ones that I've seen, they just push it automatically to the first because they still think you're strong, right? So, like, hey, we think you're strong, this and that. Because again, at the end of the day, how much can your grades get? Again, some schools might ask for like a supplement. They might ask for, hey, I'm super curious, show me this information. Then they'll ask for that additional information. There's those things. But for most students, though, again, it's not one grade that's gonna make or break you usually, right? It's always like I usually kind of know a gist of what you're doing as well. So that's that. Cool, cool. Awesome. Looks like that's it for everyone. So thank you for joining me on this training here. If you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. If not, I'll see you guys in the next training.